my name is Erica, and I held a support group for working military mothers on October 2nd from about noon until 13:15. The actual meeting lasted for approximately 90 minutes instead of the planned 75 in order to allow for a more beneficial closing to the actual meeting. It was held in the conference room of a dining facility on my Air Force installation to allow for easy access for the mothers who most likely had kids in daycare already so they didn't have to find a babysitter. And I really wanted to have a relaxed, informal environment for the 10 participants. My relationship with these women was fairly limited to more of acquaintances than close friends, and there were women that I worked near that I knew were mothers. As outlined in my group leading proposal, this was a support group meant to confront and discredit stereotypes which exist about working military mothers. I have no prior role in this capacity, and my involvement was merely as a facilitator. Regarding group dynamics, content, and the overall process, prior to the meeting's beginning, all women were seated in a circle around a conference room-like table, and there were just enough chairs for the 11 of us, the 10 participants, and then myself. I wanted to avoid empty seating in between members. Additionally, I played an indie or alternative playlist on Pandora in the background. I wanted some background noise in order to eliminate some awkward silences and to also just reinforce that relaxed environment that I wanted to create. Once everyone was settled, I began the introduction by quickly stating the group's purpose, how we will be respectful of one another, as well as my role as the facilitator of the group. We then transitioned into the initial round exercise in which each woman was to introduce herself by her name, her job title, how many children she had, her marital status, and one example of mom shaming that they have particularly experienced. This exercise brought about a number of emotions. Some women were incredulous in response to some of the mom-shaming incidents that had happened to other women. Some women were made a little bit sad by some of the accusations, but for the most part, that actually brought a lot of laughter and shared humor in the ignorance of some people, especially the people who had shamed them who didn't have kids at all themselves. We then opened the floor for discussion of the various mom-shaming incidents and what may be some reasons for why they exist. The women were very responsive. I rarely had to step in to redirect the conversations or to bring focus, which allowed me to observe and scan the room for any body language reactions that may have occurred regarding the statements that were being made, and really to gauge the overall engagement or disengagement, which there really was no disengagement. The women, again, like I said, were extremely responsive and very happy to be there and to participate. After approximately 40 minutes, we engaged in another round exercise utilizing note cards that I had provided for them myself. Each woman wrote a particular fear that they had regarding being a working military mother. Those cards were then placed into a bowl and passed around the room, and each woman drew out a card that was not their own and then read it aloud in a round. We then chose the two most common or most desired fears to discuss. And the most prevalent fear was that they would miss on the most important moments in their children's lives. One woman was assertive enough to say that when we embrace this particular fear, we may be self-sabotaging ourselves out of enjoying the moments that we do have with our children. Therefore, in order to combat this fear, the women decided to be more intentional during the moments that they do have with their children about embracing those and enjoying them. In closing, we then recapped our discussion, and I handed out a survey link for the women to provide myself with some feedback, as well as discuss some interest in holding another session that is similar to this one. Which brings me to my own self-assessment. All in all, the feedback that I received from this session was positive regarding my performance as group facilitator. One thing that the women thought I did very well was being respectful of the fact that I did not try to tell them how to parent or try to tell them they were being irrational regarding their feelings about the mom shaming incidents or the fears, especially since I myself do not have children. They also appreciated that I sat at the table with them rather than standing over them. It helped them to feel like I wasn't judging them and didn't think that I was better than them. They very much appreciated that. Another thing I thought I did well was the employment of the skill of cutting off. As we approached the middle to end of the session, the conversation had begun to stray from the group's focus. I interjected respectfully and brought the group back into focus. One area, though, that I could improve on is not holding the meeting over lunch. The women wanted to eat, but they also wanted to participate in the conversation, so they felt a bit distracted. As far as one specific challenge, this was my first experience leading a group session, so the beginning was the challenge itself. But all in all, I thought my facilitation, communication, and use of group counseling techniques throughout brought benefit to the group. In conclusion, the highlight of this experience was learning from the wisdom, the struggle, and the vulnerability that these women illustrated. As far as its application for future experiences, I hope to employ the same grace and perspective that these women showed me through this experience. Not only in other therapy sessions, but through life in general. I think the biggest change I need to make is in my amount of training and experience in group leadership. Supervision would also be helpful, I believe. As one final thought, I think that group counseling's biggest accomplishment is that it fosters the connection of human beings through shared struggle that humanity needs to survive. And it is our duty as group leaders to strive for excellence in group leadership. Thank you.